What's up, my rays of sunshine? Welcome back for another video. Today is going to be a nightmare for me, truly, because today we are doing my physical TBR video, and I am making this video because of a couple of reasons. One, I want recommendations from you guys. If you see a book on my TBR that you think I should bump up on my priority list, please let me know down in the comments. But the other thing is, a lot of what I've seen on BookTube and BookTok recently is that people don't really have like huge physical TBRs anymore, and it's kind of like frowned upon to do so. We like consume books, but you know, typically people have a physical TBR of like 50 these days. And I have a physical TBR of 123, I think. So I really just wanted to take a moment to make this video and let you guys out there who have huge physical TBRs know that it's okay and it's normal, and we're all just girls living our lives and consuming books. So we are going to start off by just going down my shelf here. I have all of the books from the first shelf up there, and then I'm gonna get more and more books down as the video goes, and I'll show you all of them. I'm not gonna do any synopses or anything like that because then the video would probably be like 2 hours long. Not really going for that, but if I feel like it, I might just say a couple words on each of the books, and if not, we'll just move right along. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my 120 book physical TBR. Alright, so honestly, I don't even know where to start because I already have 3 stacks here just from that first shelf. And I also do want to take a couple of moments at the end of the video possibly to show you like how I organize my physical TBR, because the way I used to do it was that the top shelf was like most priority and the bottom shelf was not as excited about, but that organization has slowly disappeared over time, so we'll see if we get that in here. But let's just go ahead and jump in here to these 3 stacks. So first off, we have As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. I've heard like mediocre things about the Twisted Tale books, but I'm a huge Disney fairy tale retelling girly, so if you've read one of these and you enjoyed it, please let me know, because my brother chose this for one of the 12 books from 12 friends that I read, and I just have like no motivation to read it because I just haven't heard amazing things about these. If you've read one of the Twisted Tales books and enjoyed it, let me know. Next up, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Not gonna say much about that. Excited to get to this one. The next one I'm actually pretty excited about, and not because I'm like super excited to read it per se, but because I got the whole series at a used bookstore for like $20, and it's a pretty popular series on BookTok, so when I saw it, I knew I had to grab it, and I love these covers so much. But that is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in the War of Lost Hearts series, and like I said, I just love these covers so much, so when I saw that the used bookstore had all 3 of them for a really good price, I had to jump on that. So you'll see those 3 later on. I know The Serpent and the Wings of Night is like really popular, and this one is decently popular as well, so I'm excited to give one of her books a try. Next up, we have a chonker. We have Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I actually really like Jay Kristoff's writing. I know a lot of people don't love him, but I really do. I've enjoyed the Illuminae files that he wrote with Amy Kaufman, and then I also have read 2 out of 3 books of the Nevernight Chronicle, and I really enjoyed those, so I'm definitely excited to get into this series as well. I think there's illustrations in here too. I can't, of course, find one at the current moment, but yeah, excited to get into that. And then next up, we have none other than Daisy Hates and the Great Undoing by Jessa Hastings. I love the Magnolia Park series, and this is the next book that I have to go, but I'm scared. I'm scared to read it, but I'm feeling it in my heart that it's gonna be soon. It's gonna be soon, but I'm so scared. So yes, this is book 4 in the Magnolia Parks universe. This is the book 2 of Daisy's point of view, so yes. Next up, we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I just read Part of Your World and Yours Truly in this little series, and so I'm really excited to get to this one because I've been watching videos non-stop of people sobbing their eyes out over this book, and I'm just really excited to get to it. That's already 1 stack down. Another stack to go. Next up, we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I'm obsessed with this cover. It's gorgeous. Love it. Another book that I'm very excited and series I'm excited to get into is Heaven Official's Blessing by Mo Jiang Tong Zhu. I think that's how you pronounce it. I hope so. If I mispronounce it, I apologize, but I have heard, of course, nothing but good things about Heaven Official's Blessing and Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation and all of these kinds of books. All my besties are really big into this series, so I'm definitely excited to give it a shot and see if I like it. Next up, we have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I'm just gonna keep saying this for all of them, but I'm really excited to get into this book too. I've heard phenomenal things about Frederick Bachman, especially with this book and all of his other books, so I'm really excited to get into this, and we'll see if it's my first one. I've also been really in the mood to read Beartown, and I don't own Beartown, but I think it's on Kindle Unlimited now, so we'll see if this is my first Bachman novel or if Beartown is. Then next up, we have another brick. We have The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I'm supposed to buddy read this with Bestie Sunny, and I read the first 10 pages, and I think I'm mostly just intimidated because this book is I think 900 pages long. It's so fat, but I'm excited to get into it. I've heard really good things. Next up, we have another popular book talk book. We got Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I read the fine print recently, and I actually enjoyed it. I had a fun time, so I definitely want to get into the rest of the series. The next book I actually need some comments on, which is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. I know this is the first book in a duology. The second book is called The Heart of the Sun Warrior, I think. I have heard so many good things about this first book, but not a lot of good things about the second book. So when I do read this, I'm not really sure if I'm going to go into the second book. So I wanted to know, if you've read this duology, can this be read as a standalone, or do I have to read the second book? Let me know. But I love this cover too. Then we have a book that intimidates me so bad, and that is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. I read The Poppy War last year, and it put me in a huge reading slump, but I did end up enjoying it. I think I rated it 4 stars, but because of that reason, I am now scared to continue the series because I know I'm gonna enjoy it. It's just the fact of I don't know what put me in such a bad reading slump with the first book, but I just don't want that to happen again, and I'm scared this is gonna do it. But I am excited to get into this one because I've heard from a couple of people that this kind of reminds them of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I don't know if it's because they start getting powers with the elements or something like that, but if you have read this and agree with that, please let me know. I want to read it so bad, but I'm so scared of it. And I also do own The Burning God, which you'll see later. Now we're getting into stack number 3. The first book in this stack is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I told y'all recently that I do want to get into Kristen Hanna's books because I've been watching Sarah Caroli read them and really enjoy them. So I do want to get into them. Plus my coworker also recommended this one specifically to me. Next up we have Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I bought this book because my friend Max watched my Legendborn vlog and said that he wants to read Legendborn, and he was reading this at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should read Piranesi and you should read Legendborn. And so that's what we're doing. He's actually reading Legendborn right now, so I do have to get into this hopefully this month. I am a little intimidated about it. I'm nervous I'm going to be confused, but I'm really hoping that I enjoy it. I've heard really good things about this book. The next 2 books are just the 2 other books in the All for the Game series by Nora Sakovic. So I have The Kingsman and The Sunshine Court, which you guys already know. Undercover Bromance by Alyssa K. Adams. This is the second book in the Bromance Book Club series. I loved the first one, so I'm very excited to get into the rest of the series. Next up, we have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I love Divine Rivals. I haven't read Ruthless Vows yet, but I've heard it's very folktale-y. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. It gives off a very cottagecore kind of vibe, and I'm excited to give it a shot for sure. And then we have The Art of the Prophecy by Wesley Chu. This book was not chosen by me. Me and my brother were at the bookstore one time, and I was just like, go pick out any book in the store, and I will buy it and read it, and this is what he chose. And so I guess we'll see if I like it or not. I don't know what it's about at all, but it says, in this epic fantasy ode to martial arts and the magic by the #1 New York Times bestselling author, the lives of Tao, a prophesized hero, must work with a band of unlikely allies to save their kingdom. That sounds really good to me, and it also has this gorgeous map. Hello? I did not even notice that. So, we'll see. I think I've heard of Wesley Chu before, and I've heard pretty good things. And it's got some good fantasy authors blurbed on the back, so hopefully I like that one as well. But that is the end of shelf number 1, so I'm gonna go and get shelf number 2, and we'll keep going. Time to keep going with shelf number 2. So the first book I have here is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I think this might be a book talk series that I like because I love Magnolia Parks, and I feel like they kind of give off the same vibe. But this is the first book in the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. We'll see. Next up, we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I'm very excited to get into this for the cozy, comfort, romance, fairy vibe. I've heard nothing but good things about this series, and I hope I like it, because the second book just came out recently, and if I like this, maybe I'll binge the second one as well. Next up, we have The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. I mainly just bought this because of the cover, and the synopsis sounded really good. I haven't seen very many people read it. This is book number 1 in a series. I don't know what the series is called, but there's 2 other books as far as I know. Next up, we have The Dawn of Yang Chen by F.C. Yee. This is the continuation of the Chronicles of the Avatar companion series. So recently I just read The Rise of Kyoshi, which is the first book, and then Kyoshi has a second book. So this is the first book in Yang Chan's little duology, and then Roki's getting his own duology as well very soon. Hopefully I like it more than I've been loving the Kyoshi books. And we have Wolf Song by TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune. I've read all of his books up to this point, and I'm very excited for Somewhere Beyond the Sea to come out. So when I heard that he had a gay werewolf series, I was like, of course, I have to read it. And then they republished them in these awesome covers, so knew I had to get my hands on that. Next up, we have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I recently just read Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm definitely excited to get into this one as well. We have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is kind of hit or miss for me, so hopefully I like this one. The neon pink just does not do it for me, though. I'm gonna say that. Neon pink is not for me. And we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I think I will like this one because it's been compared a lot to Criminal Minds, and I love Criminal Minds. It is such a great show. I actually did start listening to it on audiobook recently, and I'm just not a huge audiobook girly, so I didn't finish it because I just wasn't following along. Also, I forgot to say earlier that yesterday I had like a little bit of a day cold, and you could probably hear the congestion still in my voice. I'm still slightly congested, so if you hear that, I apologize. I'm going at a snail's pace today, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna push through. Because next up, we have the second book in an Elements of Cadence series, A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross. Please don't call me out for the mismatching covers. It is very upsetting. When I read Divine Rivals, I was just like obsessed with Rebecca Ross's writing, so I just knew I had to like buy other books by her. And this was the only copy they had in Barnes & Noble of A Fire Endless, and that was the only copy of A River Enchanted that they had. So I now have different formats and different covers, and I hate it. But you know, excited to get into it. Yay! And then we have the second Kyoshi book, The Shadow of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. You all know how I felt about the first Kyoshi book, and if you don't, go ahead and watch my video where I read it. So we'll see when I get into this, because I love Kyoshi so much, but the first book I was so bored, and I've heard this one is like very political, and so I'm like, oh boy. Moving on to stack number 2 of shelf number 2, we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I have read the first 2 books in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by her, and I didn't love them. Not super excited to read it. I've heard very mixed reviews. And then we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I definitely think I want to get into the naturals before I get into this series, but I have this just in case. I have a sci-fi novel, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This series has been very popular on YouTube for a long time, ever since I started watching Booktube when I was in middle school. So I'm excited to give this series a try. I'd love to get a little bit more into science fiction. This next one is definitely a cover buy, but if you have read this book or series, let me know if it's any good, because I'm sure it probably won't be. But that is Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. I am a sucker for any type of like Greek mythology retelling. Like, currently, my big, like, smut series that I'm reading is the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. I eat those books up literally every time. I know they're not amazing, but the smut's pretty good. They have great representation in their books for, like, people of color and LGBT people and plus-size people. So, I do love that series, actually, a lot. And so, when I saw this with this cover, I was like, okay, I don't know if this is gonna be good, but I definitely want to give it a chance, because literally all the covers are this gorgeous too. So if you've read this or know someone who has and they enjoyed it, let me know, because it just does not look promising. It doesn't look very promising, but you know, we're gonna give it a shot. Next up, we have The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I've heard very good things. It looks so cute and sounds so cute. Next up, we have my biggest shame that I have not gotten to yet, and that is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I love Cassandra Clare. She's good one. She's the one that got me into reading when I was in like 8th grade. So the fact that I haven't read this book yet pains my soul, but you know, we're gonna get to it eventually. Can you blame me? It's huge. It's huge. Okay. We have A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent, and there's no author on here, by Marie Brennan. I have watched Katie is read this series and enjoy it, so I saw the cover and knew I had to pick it up. I think it'll be a really fun and interesting read. Alright, and then next up we have a book that hopefully will tear me apart, Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukagawa. I'm supposed to buddy read this with Bestie Nat, and the cover, once again, is gorgeous, and I'm really trying to get more into Japanese literature, and I've read like a couple of books. I've heard good things about this one, but I'm also very scared to read it because I've heard scary things about it as well. We have Dark Dawn by Jay Kristoff. This is the last book in the Nevernight Chronicle that I also have to finish. I don't know what's holding me back from this book, because I loved the first 2, so we'll have to get to this very soon. We have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. In our last stack from shelf number 2, we're going to start off strong with Magnolia Park's Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings. I was so adamant on getting the original cover from the UK, and it's literally the ugliest one out of the entire series so far. It is so bad, but yet, is it any better or any worse than the new covers with the legs? They're just so terrible. The original covers are by far the OGs, but this one, they just did Magnolia so dirty. Like, even she would hate this. It's so bad. But we still gonna read her, and we still gonna love her anyway. After that, we have The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. I mostly bought this because of the cover, and then I read the synopsis on the back. I was like, that sounds like something I'd enjoy. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this book. It's definitely not a priority, but I have it. Lastly, for shelf number 2, we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. Not much to say. Alright, now we gotta move on to shelf number 3. Next up, we have Circe by Madeline Miller. I read The Song of Achilles. I liked it. I don't really see why it's as popular as it is. Don't come for me, but I've heard amazing things about this one, and my my university professor actually recommended this book to me too. So if she likes it, gotta trust her. And then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I'm not a huge mystery girly, but I do want to get into the genre, and I think this will be a good place to start. And we have The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I know this is like the first book in a series, but I haven't heard like literally anything about the other books. All I know is that Bestie Nat loves this book, so I will be keeping it on my physical TBR no matter how long it takes, and I will read it for her. After that, we have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Hoping to get to this very soon. Yay! We're making strides. Okay. Then we have Wayward by Amelia Hart. I like this cover as well. And I passed this book up for my book of the month 1 month, and then I regretted it because I was like, that sounds so interesting. But I think I was still like fairly new to book of the month, and so like I didn't exactly know how it worked just yet, even though it's so easy. But Wayward, yay! We have more Carissa Broadbent books because I guess I'll show them in the order. I have the other 2 books of the War of Lost Hearts. So book number 2 is Children of Fallen Gods, which once again, love the cover. And then book 3, the last book, is Mother of Death and Dawn. Do you guys see why I had to get the physical copies of these books, especially on sale? They're gorgeous. You have The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I'm not obsessed with this cover, but Book Talk's obsessed with this series. And so is Bessie Beth. So, of course, I'm gonna read it. Here's some recent purchases that I got. This first book is very popular on Book Talk right now. And I'm really hoping that I can just have a silly, goofy time with this because I've heard these are silly, goofy books. And that is Butcher and Blackbird by Brynn Weaver. I'm obsessed with this cover. And so when I saw it at my local bookstore, I just was like, I have to get it. I have to, because the cover is calling to me. And I just really hope that I like this series because it just sounds like a silly, goofy time. Hopefully I can suspend my disbelief and just have a good time reading this series. Then we have The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. I saw Haley Pham read this like somewhat recently, or I saw her talking about it in Sarah or Destiny's video. She gave it 5 stars. So next up is another cover by, and that is Heart and Sail by Jen Frederick. I've never even heard of this book before, but the cover is so cute, and it said like it gives K-drama vibes, and I'm not a K-drama girly, but I do like the K-drama vibes, so hopefully I will like this. It just looks like a cute little Korean romance book. Alright, we have The Trials of Apollo, Book 2, The Dark Prophecy. I am so behind on my Rick Riordan books, and I know I need to get into it because the 6th book in the Percy Jackson series just came out, and there's another one coming out like literally so soon, and I know I need to catch up. But I'm just not one for middle grade anymore. But I need to read it. I know. Somebody please comment and tell me to read The Trials of Apollo and the next Percy Jackson book, please. Because I need to get to them. I need a kick in the butt. We have a really interesting book, and you're going to be like, Destiny, why do you have this on your shelf? But we have Coco, A Story About Music, Shoes, and Family by Diana Lopez. My favorite movie of all time is, you guessed it, Coco. And I guess this is just the book version, and so I just wanted to read it because I love Coco. It makes me cry literally every time, and the shelf that this book is on is literally Dia de los Muertos themed. So I have some Coco pins, and then I have a candle for Dia de los Muertos, and then I have a little skeleton woman. It's just a thing. So I guess I'm gonna read the book version of Coco someday. We have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is book 1 in the Scholomance series. I've heard good things about it besides a couple of like racial things, but I think they changed it so that it wouldn't have that anymore, so I guess we'll see. I don't know why this is still on my shelf because I'm actually currently reading this, but I have Cruel Seduction by Katie Robert. This is the 5th book in the Dark Olympus series. And I'm very nervous about where it's going to go because I don't think I'm going to like it, but we're going to just put it over here because it's not on my physical TBR anymore. And then we have book 2 of the Kingdom of the Wicked series, Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. Next up we have The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Moving on, we have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Me and my boyfriend just watched the movie for this, and it was actually really funny and enjoyable, so this definitely has moved up on my priority list. Hopefully it'll be a silly, goofy time. Next up, I don't know why I still have these books because I really don't think I'm going to read them unless one of you changes my mind, I guess. We have The the first 2 books in the Witchland series by Susan Dennard. So we have Truth Witch and Wind Witch. I don't really buy more books in the series until I've read the first book and know I'm going to like them. So why I bought Wind Witch, I'm not really sure, because I haven't read Truth Witch yet. So I guess we'll see if I read these or not. Next up, we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I've heard really good things about this book and the writing. And can we just get a second for the naked hardback, because that is just gorgeous. And even if I don't love the content of this, I think I'm definitely going to get some beautiful writing out of it. And I'm always down for some beautiful writing. Next up, we have An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. I really need to get to this book because I read The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, and I love that book. Just thinking about it, the writing was gorgeous, and it was such a devastating story, and so I'm really excited to read another book by Emily X.R. Pan. I haven't heard anything about this book, though. Like, I know when An Astonishing Color of After was, like, released, a lot of people were talking about it because of the writing and because of the message, and everyone really enjoyed it, but I've not heard a single thing about this book, unless I'm just not watching the right people. So if you've read this book, please let me know. Next up, we have Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. I had to buy the matching black cover for Divine Rivals. I'm hoping to get to this very, very soon because I want to see where my rating stands, because I've had many conversations with my besties about the fact that everyone keeps giving this book terrible ratings because of the fact that the romance is not so, like, the forefront of this book, and it more so talks about the fantasy and the war and the history as if, like, that's what the series is actually supposed to be about. And I get it. You want to see more of Roman and Iris. I get it. But the whole point is that they're at war, and that's why the romance is so heavy. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to give this book or how I'm going to feel about it. And I hope it's a high rating so I can really just let out all my thoughts. Ruthless Vows. And then we have a book that I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get to, The Fear by Natasha Preston. I saw this random person, like, read it on their booktube once. I don't remember who it was, but the synopsis sounded really cool. Basically, it's like there's a meme that's going around this small town, and people are reposting the meme and sharing their biggest fear, and then the classmates are somehow dying based off of, like, their biggest fear. And then I have the last 2 books in the Throne of Glass series. We have Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash, and you're like, wow, Destiny, those are the old covers, like, when they were first published, and you would be right, because that is quite literally how long I have had them. I love the Throne of Glass series. I just have literally no motivation to finish the series. Now we are done with shelf number 3. We are making our way down, so now I have to get shelf number 4, and we are so close to being done. All right, let's keep going. First, we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I am on a journey this year to diversify my genres a bit more, and getting into mystery thrillers is one of those goals, and I've heard good things about this one. And then we have another Kristen Hanna book, Firefly Lane. This is just another one of the books that Sarah Caroli read and enjoyed. And then next up, we have another series that I'm now unsure if I'm going to get through because I have no motivation to read it, but we'll see. We have A Heart So Fierce and Broken and A Vow So Bold and Deadly, both by Bridget Kemmerer. These are the second and third books in the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series. I enjoyed the first book quite a bit, and the ending had me like, so I want to read these. But will it be anytime soon? We'll see. We have The Definers by Libba Bray. This series was so popular for the longest time, and I do want to read it. I just don't think I really want to own them physically anymore. The brain cells are just dying so quickly. And then we have The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I don't know if I ever pronounced that right. I just recently read The Silent Patient by him, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm gonna get into this one as well, especially because he writes his books based on, like, Greek mythology, I'm pretty sure, is the common denominator between his 3 books. And then next up we have The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. Once I read the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus series, I, of course, loved Rick Riordan's writing, as everyone else does, and so I figured I would go back eventually and read the Kane Chronicles, I think is what this series is called. This follows Egyptian mythology, so that's exciting. Next up, we have Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert. I figured since I'm liking her Dark Olympus series, I figured I would try and get into another one of her books. Next up, we have another book that I'm unsure of why I purchased it, but it has illustrations, so that's cool, and that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is the same Susanna Clarke who wrote Piranesi, so maybe if I read Piranesi and enjoy that one, then it'll give me the motivation I need to read this one, because it is also very thick. It's over 800 pages, so hopefully I'll like this one. It sounds interesting. It's got magic, and I'm pretty sure it's LGBT. And then we have the most recent receivings in my collection. So we have The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This is one of my book of the month, and this month is actually my birthday month, so I did get to pick a second book, which we'll see in a second. This is the author of The Wishing Game, which I also picked as my book of the month like a couple months ago. Haven't read it yet, but I have heard good things about it. The second book I decided to pick out was Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. This book has recently taken over Book Talk. It's a witch hunter, and it's YA, and the cover is gorgeous, and I was going to pick this as my book of the month when it was one of the options, but I think I decided not to because it's fantasy, and fantasy is my main genre, and so I'm really trying to diversify my genres once again, so I picked something else. And then we have another recent purchase, Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Bestie Nat loves this series, and I saw Jesse the Reader read it recently, and he really enjoyed it, and I think it'll be a fun little book to annotate it. Also, this book is so cute. It's so tiny, and it's just like put it in your pocket cute. But I think this will make me feel existential. Another book that I think I'm going to read hopefully soon, The Foxwife by Young-Si Chu. I'm sorry if I butchered that. This book sounded really interesting, and I'm pretty sure it's about a woman. It's a historical fiction, and it's about a woman who can turn into a fox. So I guess maybe she's a kitsune, but I don't really want to know too much about it. I just really enjoyed the cover. And then next up is something that was really popular years ago, and I still do need to read it because I know it is such an important book, and that is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. I know, like I said, that this is such an important novel to read, and I got it literally when it was so popular, and why I have not read it yet, I don't even know. My brother has even read this book for required reading in school, and so the fact that I haven't read it yet, I know is distasteful, but I will get to it. I refuse to take it off my TBR. I'm just gonna have to shove it down my throat because I know I'm gonna enjoy it, and I know it's gonna be such a hard-hitting and important story. I just have to force myself to read it. And then this next book I found in a little free library, The Leaving by Tara Altebrando. These people have some really hard names to pronounce. This is another YA thriller mystery book that sounds really interesting. Basically, there were these like 6 kindergartners, and they went missing, and then randomly all of them except for one, I think. Yeah, 5 of the kids returned. They're 16 and they're fine. So I think this sounds really interesting, and I'm hoping that it'll let me dive deeper into this genre. And then the next one I thought was so silly when I saw the cover, and it sounds so interesting. Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses. So the main character actually has like chronic Lyme disease, and I really do want to try and read more book with chronic illness rep. And I guess I don't know if she like also is a werewolf or something. It says Teen Wolf meets emergency contact in this debut young adult novel about friendship and the hairy side of chronic illness. Oh. So that just sounds so fun, and I'm very excited to read this. Like, reading the synopsis again just now has like rekindled my interest in this book. I just think it'll be so fun, and I love Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf is like literally one of my favorite shows. So we'll bump this up, definitely. And then we have Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. I love The Raven Cycle. It is a great series, and so I definitely want to continue on with this one. I don't know when, but it will get read. And then here's another strange interest about me. I love Henry VIII and his 6 wives. Like, I love watching movies about them and watching YouTube videos about them, and they're just one of my fun little obsessions, I guess. My favorite musical of all time is Six, the musical. I picked up The Tudors in Love, Passion and Politics in the Age of England's Most Famous Dynasty by Sarah Gristwood. I'm not typically one for nonfiction, but I figured since it's a book that focuses on one of my interests that I would give it a try. The only thing, I'm just not sure if it's really going to go into his wives, and that's really where my interest lies. I don't care about him. He was a terrible person. So we'll see if I do enjoy this. If you also are interested in Henry VIII and his 6 wives, and you know of any nonfiction books that focus on his wives rather than him, or both, that'd be interesting too. Please comment down below, because I really do want to read more books on the subject rather than just watching YouTube videos and documentaries all the time about them. And then here we go, we have The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, the book I just talked about. This book is so gorgeous, and I've seen like a bunch of YouTube shorts about this book and how it makes you like fall in love with reading again, and it just makes you feel very nostalgic for when you first got into reading. So I definitely know I need to get to this one very soon, because I think it'll make me feel all of the feelings. Another one that I am wondering why I bought, but I'm still probably going to read, is The Thing About Jellyfish by Ali Benjamin. I like jellyfish, and I saw a jellyfish on the cover, and so I bought it. I don't know why I do these things to myself, but it looks very sad. Sometimes when we feel most alone, the world can open up in mysterious ways. I don't know what this book is about, but it's won an award, so hopefully I will pick it up one day. And the font is huge. It's huge, so hopefully I can pick it up one day and enjoy it. I'm really thinking that like books like this one, where I'm not really sure why I purchased them, but I think I could really enjoy them, they make me really want to do like a random number generator picks the book I read, where I just do 1 through like 120 and I count on the bookshelf what book that is and pick it up and read it, because I think it could really be that push for me to read the books like this that I'm not prioritizing but would really enjoy. So if you'd like to see a video like that, please let me know. I think that'd be really fun to film. And then next up we have Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I read like half of this and I did enjoy what I was reading at the time, but I think I just wasn't in the proper mindset to really fully finish it and give it the attention that it deserves. I have heard good things about the rest of the series, so this was really a softie enough. Like, I really do think I will pick it up again. I did start annotating it, and I do still really want to read this. I think it's really a fun story. And then next up we have A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahereh Mafi. I have no interest in reading the Shatter Me series. It was kind of like after my time, but this book basically talks about the after effects of 9/11 and how it affects the Muslim community. So the main character basically is Muslim, and she starts at a new school, and basically she gets a bunch of discrimination because 9/11 just happened. And of course, as you know, 9/11 was a very traumatizing time for our country, but it was also a very traumatizing time for Muslim people who obviously were not involved directly with 9/11. I think this book will be very eye-opening to the other perspective of Muslim people who didn't have anything to directly do with 9/11 but still got the discrimination of it. So I do definitely want to read this. Next up we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have not read an Erin Morgenstern book before, but I've heard really good things about this one, and I think she'll be a very what's that word? Not majestic, but enchanting writer, and I think her books will definitely like whisk me away. And you can tell that I'm getting more and more exhausted because I'm talking quieter and quieter. Next up we have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I don't know why I purchased this book. I don't know where I purchased it from. I don't even remember where it came from. But Bestie Allie is actually in the middle of the series and she's loving it. So now I have a new motivation to pick it up, and hopefully I enjoy it as well. And then the last book on the fourth shelf, we're so close to being done, is Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is the last short story collection in the Lunar Chronicles series, which is literally one of my favorite series ever. And why I have not read this, I don't know. But I think I'm really just trying to save it for a time where I feel nostalgic for that series. And recently I have been feeling that. So maybe I'll have to get into this book very soon. And I definitely want to reread the series in the future and annotate it because I love that series. If you haven't read The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, please do. And Renegades. Renegades is also an incredible series by Marissa Meyer. She is definitely one of my favorite authors, and I have to pick up some of her more recent books and see if they're just as good. We are on the last shelf, friends. We are on the last shelf. We're in the home stretch now. Let's go. All right, next up, we have The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok. I think this is about a woman who ends up immigrating from China, and she goes to New York, but she's got a lot of family drama. I don't know. The cover is gorgeous, and I think it'll also be a very insightful read about the relationships that women have with their mothers. Next up, we have a book that I'm not sure I'll ever read, but it was a gift. So Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So my uncle, he likes to read as well, and at the time, this was like 7 years ago. No, less. 5 years ago, maybe. My uncle likes to read, and he was reading Moby Dick at the time. And at the time, I was in high school, and I really wanted to be a classics girly, and so I figured a good place to start would be Pride and Prejudice. I even have my bookmark still in there. And so my uncle bought me Pride and Prejudice for my birthday, and he wrote this wonderful note in it, and I will bestow it upon you. It says, "Happy birthday, Destiny. The more you read, the less you watch TV." He is so right about that. He is so right. He hit the nail on the head. And I did start reading this, and literally all of my classmates at the time were like, "Are you reading it for English class? Like, why are you reading this?" And I was like, "No, I want to." And I have not continued it. I really still do in my mind want to be a classics girly, but I just have not found any that I enjoy. I really don't like using that much brain power when I read. Hopefully I can read this one day, because I would hate for it to just sit on my shelves when my uncle bought it for me. And then I found this book at a little free library in a Starbucks, and there's a bookmark in here. Yes, this was in a little free library at a Starbucks. It's called Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley, and the cover looks so cute, and it just sounds so fun, because it seems like, based on the cover, she's like a movie star or a model, or maybe it's the one of them is famous trope. And he's just cute with his little baking cupcakes and everything. So, yes, I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but if I'm ever in the mood for a fun little romance, I think this will be it for me. Next up, we have Malice by Heather Walter. This is an LGBTQ retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and I think that'd be really fun. The cover is really just itching something in my brain. And then we have the, what's this series called? The Monsters of Something series by V.E. Schwab. So we have This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet. I really like V.E. Schwab. Well, she's kind of hit or miss for me. I love Vicious, but I didn't love A Darker Shade of Magic, but I'd be willing to give that book another try. I also really enjoyed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, so I definitely do want to give Monsters of Verity, that's what the series is called. I definitely do want to give this series a try. I've had it on my TBR for a very long time, but I think I will enjoy it when I do get to reading it. And then I have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. I do want to get into Christina Lauren. I know they are very famous in the realm of romance, and so I do want to get into them. I just don't think this is going to be the book that does it for me. So if you have any other Christina Lauren recommendations, let me know. I know Love and Other Words is very popular, and I was considering getting that one. And then we have another book that I don't think I'm ever going to read, but my mom got this for me because she read it when she was a kid, or she read the first book and she liked it, and so she got it for me so that hopefully one day I would read it. And it's a companion book of both Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews. I don't know what this exactly is about. I'm pretty sure it's a thriller or horror novel, basically about these siblings or these people who were trapped inside an attic. Oh, okay, so they were trapped in their grandparents' attic, waiting for Mama to figure out what to do next. As the day turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the unspeakable horrors that plagued them are rivaled only by sinful jealousies that begin to rise. Like, this sounds interesting, but this book is so fat. But I think I just have to get it through my head that this is 2 books in one. This is 2 books in one. So maybe if I read, like, the first book on my Kindle or something like that, and I don't look at the sheer size of this, then maybe I could really enjoy it. It does sound interesting, and I will keep it on my TBR because you never know, maybe one day I will read it and I will enjoy it and my mom will be very happy. We have The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This was gifted to me by Sunny for Christmas, maybe? I think it was Christmas. We recently read The 7-Year Slip for our Bestie Buddy read and we all really enjoyed it. And so we do want to get into Ashley Poston's other works. I also have read her young adult series, the Once Upon a Con series, where the first book was like Geekerella, and I really did enjoy those books. Actually, I've actually met Ashley Poston, now that I remember that. I have met Ashley Poston. She was delightful, and so I definitely do want to give this a read very soon because I just really enjoy her writing. It's very wholesome, but very feelings oriented at the same time. Emotional, that's the word I'm looking for. And then next up we have The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. I love The Kiss Quotient. I'm literally reading The Bride Test right now, so of course I have to have the 3rd book in the series. Thanks to Bestie Allie for gifting me the whole series because she's the best. All of my besties are the best. I love every single one of them. And then we have a book that I'm scared of, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I want to read it so bad, but I'm so scared that I'm not going to like it because of TikTok and BookTube just hyping this series up, and the cover or the 2nd book just came out or is coming out really soon, and the cover was gorgeous for that, and so I really do want to read it so bad, but I'm so scared of it. We have Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. Sisterly relationship. Yippee! Surrounded by books in a magical library. This book, I'm actually excited to read, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Hopefully very soon, because I have been thinking about this book a lot. Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. Okay, so it's a reimagining of American slavery as beautifully rendered as it is heart-wrenching. Searching, harrowing, replete with transcendent love, the novel is a journey from the rice fields of the Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans and into the fearsome heart of a Louisiana sugar plantation. I think that'll be a really important read, especially because, as I've talked about with Legendborn before, Legendborn also touches on American slavery, the effects that slavery has on the Black community, and the consequences of what could happen because of that, and what did happen because of that. And so I think this book would really closely relate to that theme, obviously. So I should get to this book soon. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. And then I really want to get into this author's writing, but I was really imagining that when I would start reading the Every Heart a Doorway series because I've heard amazing things about that one and I think it's so cute sounding. But instead, no, I picked up Middle Game by Shannon McGuire. Will I like this book? I don't know, but the premise does sound interesting. So of course I'll give it a go. And then here's another book that I've had on my TBR since I've started watching BookTube when I was in like middle school. And that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is basically about a girl who is born with wings, and I've heard it's very emotional, but I just don't think I have any desire to read it anymore. I've just had it for so long, and I was so excited to have it when I did purchase it, but I just don't think I want to read it anymore. So maybe one of you can change my mind. Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston. This is the 3rd and final book in the Once Upon a Con series. If you don't know what the series is about, it's basically a fairy tale retelling series, but it's like mixed with sci-fi, and it basically talks about the importance of like being a fangirl and fandoms and conventions, and it's super geeky, but it's so just cute and wholesome, and I have to get to this book because I just want to finish this series. And I just think it's going to be so cute when I do get to it, and I need to. And then we have another book that I recently did pick up, and got a decent ways through. Then I got bored. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I was really, really into this book when I was reading it, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was because I hadn't picked it up for a little bit, or if the story just didn't interest me anymore, but I DNF'd it like halfway through. But I'm gonna keep it on my physical TBR because I do think that one day I could pick it up and finish it. The second half just got so like political, but not in a good way. I just felt like all this information was being so dumped on me that I just didn't want to read it anymore. So hopefully one day I'll pick this back up and finish it. Will I continue on with the series? I don't know, but the least I could do was finish that first book. And then we have a book that I don't know how I'm going to feel about. We have Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. I had this book on my Amazon wishlist, and basically Bessie Beth was like, I really want to get into dark romance. Will you buddy read a dark romance with me? And I was like, sure. She's like, I saw you have Darling Venom on your Amazon wishlist. And I was like, I do, but I was going to take it off. And she purchased it for me. And now I'm going to read it with her at some point. I hope I like it, because it does sound interesting. But book talk ruins things for me. And then we have 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I talked about this book recently when I got it in my book of the month, so I'm not gonna talk about it, but I'm excited to read that one. And then we have Crazy Stupid Bromance. This is the 3rd book in the Bromance Book Club series, but yes, excited to carry on with that series. And then we have the last and final book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, The Final Offer. Yep. And then we have a book that I talked about recently on my channel, Dragon Fruit by Makia Lucifer. I'm very excited to get to this one. I think it'll be so fun. And another moment for the cover. Love the cover. That's literally the main reason I purchased it. Like, I know it's going to be fun, a fun read, but the cover was so gorgeous. I had to have it. And the same thing with this cover. We have Starling House by Alex E. Haro. I think one of the months for book of the month I didn't love the options, and this was one of the options that I could get. So I'm excited to read that one as well. And then the final book of shelf number 4 is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I am going to be so completely honest. I've lost like all interest in the Crescent City series, even though I really enjoyed the first book. So I really just have to push myself to read that second book, because once I read it again, I'm sure that I will enjoy it. I really do like Sarah J. Maas. I know she's very conflicting these days, but I enjoy her. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses when I was in high school, so back before Book Talk was even a thing, and I enjoyed her, and I love Throne of Glass, so I don't know if it's Book Talk just pushing me away from her, or if it's because of the size of these books, but I do want to continue the series. I haven't even read House of Sky and Breath, the second book. I haven't even read that one yet, but I have to push myself to do it. I know I will enjoy them. And now we are done with the 4th shelf, which means that I just have to get the 3 other books that I am currently hosting over here. These are the last 3 books on my physical TBR, and then we're gonna be done. We're gonna be so done, and I'm excited to be done. Okay, so the first book is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is a classic that I have actually enjoyed, hence why I need more classic recommendations that might be more up my alley. My high school theater teacher, so basically like my second mom, recommended this to me when I was in high school, and she saw that I love to read, and so I picked it up just for her. Actually, this was a Christmas gift, and the second that I got it, I texted her immediately. Because I was graduated at that point, and it made me think of her and all that good stuff. So, The Handmaid's Tale, I was about halfway through this book when I DNF'd it, but I definitely do want to give it a second life and try to pick it up again. It is literally stuck in this position. That's cool. And then we have another book that I started recently and just never got around to finishing because I soft DNF'd it because I wasn't in the mood, and it's already still so dusty. And that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Allie, I will read it. I will read the series, and I know what you're thinking. I was really enjoying it. I just lost the momentum when I was reading it, and so I will finish it. I promise. I promise. I'll get to it. I have it, and I have it marked at the exact page that I left off on because I remember enough of the story to continue from where I left off, whenever that is. And then we have Six Crimson Crayons by Elizabeth Lim. I just started this book on audio, and I really was not loving the audiobook, so I soft DNF'd it. So I will get to it again soon. I want to read it physically, I think, or on my Kindle, because I really was enjoying the story. Like I said, it was really just the audiobook that was putting me off. And there you have it! We're done! We are so done. We are so done. I can't do this anymore. Thank you so much for watching this video. We are done with my physical TBR, and I have all these stacks of books that I now have to put back on my shelves. If you have seen a book or a series in this video that you think that I should bump up on my priority list, please let me know in the comments below, and I will consider your suggestion. But take this as a message that it is okay to have absurdly large physical TBRs, because then you have more options. I love you guys so much. Thank you for staying tuned and watching me slowly lose my mind. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!